So we have seen how Werner has predicted structures for complexes with 6 ligands and 4 ligands. Not only that, we can also use magnetic moment to determine the structure of a complex. Generally, cis compounds will have a non-zero magnetic moment, whereas a trans compound will have zero magnetic moment. So based on the magnetic moment, we can say whether it is a cis complex or a trans complex. Okay, other possibilities we cannot predict, but cis and trans. Cis complex will have a non-zero magnetic moment and a trans complex will have a zero magnetic moment, either in case of octahedral geometry or in the case of square planar complexes. If you are given two complexes and if we know the magnetic moment, then we can easily say which one is cis, which one is trans. Cis will have non-zero magnetic moment, trans will have zero magnetic moment. But nowadays, we are using X-ray diffraction spectroscopy, XRD, X-ray diffraction spectroscopy to study the structure of the complexes. So all structural information like shape of the molecule, then bond length, we can have length of each and every bond present in the molecule, and we can have each and every bond angle possible in the molecule. We can get exact details from XRD spectroscopy. Only thing is we need a crystal compound. Either it is a powder or a crystalline. We need a crystalline phase. If it is a crystalline compound, we can get all these details. Now, previously, the structure of or the structure partial information about the structure of these complexes are also obtained by conductivity measurements. Conductivity measurements. What is conductivity? Conductivity is nothing but the current carried by all the ions present in the molecule. Now, how can we predict which molecule will have high conductivity, which molecule will have low conductivity? Very simple. It is, we need to look at the possible number of ions when this complex is dissolved in water or a solvent. When this complex is dissolved in water, we will get 3 chloride ions and 1 complex ion. So altogether, we will get 1 complex ion, 3 chloride ions. So when this complex is dissolved in water, it gives 4 ions. So when we measure the current carried by these 4 ions, so just dip an conductivity meter uh, experimental setup, just measure the conductivity, then this complex will give very high current because it is having 4 ions. Now we can differentiate these complexes using simple conductivity experiments. Here, how many ions will be possible when we dissolve it in water? When we dissolve it in water, we will get two chloride ions and then one complex ion. So we will get only three ions. When we dissolve it in water, we will get one chloride ion and one complex ion. So we get only two ions. It's a simple thing. When we dissolve sodium chloride in water, what will happen? It generates sodium ions and chloride ions. So similarly here also. Now, what is the conductivity of a solution? Conductivity of a solution is nothing but the current carried by all ions present in the solution. So when we measure the conductivity of this compound in solution, it will give current by 4 ions, whereas this complex will give current from with respect to 3 ions, whereas this ion will give current with respect to 2 ions. So from these conductivity measurements, we can clearly say which complex is what. Now, the same complexes, they can also be differentiated using silver nitrate test. When we add AgNO3 to this solution, what happens? We know silver and halogens, they'll form insoluble precipitates. Insoluble precipitate. Silver chloride is a white precipitate. So when we add silver ion to this solution, what happens? We will get silver chloride. Because there are three chloride ions, we will get three silver chlorides. In this case, we get only two silver chlorides. In this case, we will get only one silver chloride. So we will take equal concentration of these solutions. We will add excess of silver nitrate solution. Then we will purify the precipitate and we will measure the weight. When we measure the weight, we can easily identify that this complex will give silver precipitate from 3 chloride ions, whereas this will give silver chloride precipitate from 2 chloride ions, whereas this complex will give silver chloride precipitate from 1 ion. So by measuring the weight of silver chloride which is formed in these reactions, we can also differentiate these complexes. So from these conductivity and precipitation reactions, we can differentiate these complexes. After Werner's theory, which gave only a primary information about the structure of complexes, Sidgwick proposed coordinate covalent bond to explain the bonding in complexes. Of course, he did not give any structural information. He has only proposed coordinate covalent bond. So we can say it is in the support of Werner's theory. According to Sidgwick, the bond between central metal ion and ligands is a coordinate or dative or semi-polar bond, which is represented by an arrow. Arrow starts from the ligand because ligands are electron-rich system, and arrow points towards metal because metal is electropositive element and it is a poor electron system, so it gains electrons from ligand. So according to Sidgwick, a complex can be represented like with coordinate covalent bonds. For example, this tetramine complex can be represented like this. Tetramine complex can be represented like this. I'm repeating. He has proposed, Sidgwick proposed only coordinate covalent bond or dative bond. to explain the bonding nature, but he did not explain the structure of the complexes. So, according to Sidgwick, ligands will donate electrons to the central metal ion because ligands are electron-rich systems, metal is electron-poor system. So, in order to generate a bond between metal and ligand, ligands will donate its electron pair to the metal, and hence he has proposed the bonding between metal and ligand is through coordinate bond. Now, how many ligands can be donated to central metal? 2, 3, or how many? It depends on the stability of the metal ion. That means ligands can be added to metal ion until its electronic configuration becomes more stable. What is the more stable configuration in the periodic table? It is the noble gas configuration. So ligands will be, since noble gas configuration is stable, according to Sidgwick, ligands will be added to central metal ion until it gains the next higher inert gas electronic configuration. So for a 3D element, we can add electrons until it becomes krypton configuration. For a 4D element, we can add ligands until its electronic configuration becomes xenon configuration. So something like that. The total number of electrons surrounding the metal ion in a complex is called as effective atomic number. The total number of electrons on the central metal ion in a complex is called effective atomic number. The total number of electrons on the central metal ion, including those gained from the ligands in the bonding, is called as the effective atomic number of the central metal ion. That means electrons from the metal plus electrons from the ligands. This is called effective atomic number. In order to calculate the effective atomic number, there are two ways. One is ionic way, another one is neutral way. In an ionic way, we will only consider the coordination pair. Outside the coordination, we don't consider. In an ionic way, here there are 3 chlorines outside the coordination pair, which will have 3 minus. That means coordination pair will have 3 plus. Ammonia ligands charge is 0. That means this 3 plus is coming from metal. So cobalt is in plus 3 oxidation state. Cobalt is in plus 3 oxidation state. Now cobalt atomic number is 27. Plus 3 means when we remove 3 electrons, we will get plus 3. So when we remove 3 electrons from 27, it becomes 24. Now each ligand will give 2 electrons. There are 6 ammonia ligands. So 6 into 2, 12 electrons. Each ligand will give 2 electrons. So altogether 36. 36 is the electronic configuration of krypton, a noble gas element. So this is how we need to calculate the effective atomic number in an ionic. In a neutral way, we will consider the entire complex and we don't consider the charges. That is the only difference. We don't consider the charges. Iron atomic number 26. There are 4 potassium atoms, ions. Each potassium will give 1 electron. There are 6 cyanides. Each cyanide will give 6 electrons. Each cyanide will give 1 electron. There are 6 cyanides, so 6 electrons. So in a neutral way, we will consider the complete complex and we don't consider the charges, either the primary valency or the secondary valency, they will contribute only one electron each. There are 4 potassium, 4 electrons. There are 6 cyanides, 6 electrons. So altogether we are getting 36. So this is effective atomic number of this complex ion. Now I will give some more practice problems. You practice effective atomic number for all these complexes. It is just for practice. There are some exceptions where we don't get effective atomic number. As next higher inert gas configuration. So in this case, we don't get 36. There are some exceptions also. Remember that.